Calvin had spent chapter 1 demonstrating that knowledge of God must be the starting place of all knowledge. Now in chapter 2, he presses in on how and what we know of God. Importantly for Calvin, progressing in knowledge of God requires piety, which he defines as that reverence joined with love of God, which the knowledge of God's benefits induces. In other words, truly knowing God necessarily produces fear and love of God. To be clear, we're not yet discussing a kind of knowing the gospel of Jesus Christ and his mediation that requires spiritual knowledge. That's for later. We're simply recognizing what Romans 1 calls common to man. God is creator and sustainer. But truly knowing even that simple truth requires a change in our disposition. It produces piety. Calvin explains, "You cannot behold God clearly unless you acknowledge him to be the fountainhead and source of every good. Knowing God, then, must be a careful endeavor. This piety is essential for progressing in this knowledge rightly. First, we must have this piety produced by knowledge of his benefits. If God were not involved in the act of sustaining, first, we must have this piety produced by knowledge of his benefits. If God were not involved in the active sustaining of his creation, and were somewhere far off, we couldn't know him at all. As it is, God is relational and able to be known. Second, this piety also keeps us from pressing on in this knowledge to errors and irreverence. We can't make God in whatever image we want. And finally, love of God must provoke us to keep pressing on in this knowledge, though our fear and humility before him dissuade us. Calvin writes, "The pious mind does not dream up for itself any God it pleases, but contemplates the one and only true God. And it does not attach to him whatever it pleases, but is content to hold him to be as he manifests himself." He concludes, "Here indeed is pure and real religion, faith so joined with an earnest fear of God, that this fear also embraces willing reverence."